Good morning. I think it's working. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed it's working. So good morning. If you are watching, do please pop a hello in the comments and we will get this show on the road, as they say. Oh, November today. Where has the year gone? No idea. Absolutely no idea. They do say time gets quicker as you get older. I'm pretty sure it does. So, November. Everyone have a good All Hallows Eve, Samhain, whatever you celebrate. Did we have fun? Did we get lots of sweets? I had a curry because, why not? Subject today is all about the season as well. It's all about this time of the year, so we'll get started with that in a minute. Oh, lots of comments all come pinging in at the same time. Good morning, Charlie. Good morning, Emma. Good morning, Claire. Good morning, Gwyn. Good morning, Maria. Did I have a nice birthday? Yes, thank you. It was my birthday yesterday. Normal working day, but I went out for a nice curry in the evening. Very nice, thank you. Lots of prezzies. Eric helped supervise the unwrapping of them, of course. It was busy actually. We walked to our curry. Lots of people dressed up. Not
Ooh, posh.
Posh. I don't know about that.
It was your birthday.
It was, yeah. Well, Costa had a buy one, get one free, so I had a spare one from yesterday. Thank you. Just give it a bit of a stir. Get a bit of the maple hazelnut latte or whatever it is. Couldn't avoid a buy one, get one free, really. Oh, that's sweet. Oh, that's sweet. Ooh. Good morning, Horizon. Thank you very much. Good evening, Sephora. Nothing wrong with a good curry on your birthday. Oh, no, I didn't have to cook. That wasn't going to happen. Baking, I love. Cooking, not so much. I do it, but, good morning, Jane. Would have been Nana's 119th birthday. Wow, that would be going some, wouldn't it? I might be quite tired by then, I think. So as yesterday was 31st of October, today is the 1st of November. For those that are watching on catch-up or replay or watching in 6 months' time, that's what the date is. So that kind of prompted today's subject, which is the spirit world, ancestors, beyond the veil. Any thoughts about any of that? The differences between those things we'll talk about as well. So that's the subject for today. Good morning, David. Happy New Year. Now that's another subject for today as well. Said to be the beginning of the Celtic New Year. I must admit I don't see it as such. I do tend to do divination reading though. It'll be today that I do it for the next 6 months. It is a good time to pause and look back over what's happened so far this year, what's worked, what didn't work. It is a kind of pivotal point, I think. It's autumn. Autumn's lovely anyway. Good morning, Susan. Thank you. Thank you, Emma. Good morning, Xenia. Did have a nice birthday. Thank you. Xenia is in London having breakfast. You are an international jet setter, Xenia. International jet setter for sure. David's house now smells like what? Let's get this on the screen. Just, because it's... my house now smells like Grandad, so last night must have been fun. I don't think we need any more details. Good morning, Diane. Good morning. Yeah, so many comments that I don't need to know. That's the subject for today, is the spirit world, really. Said to be a time of the year when the veil between the worlds is thin. How do you feel about that? Do you think the veil is actually thinner this time of the year, or do you think we just all focus on our loved ones that have passed? So there are more spirits coming through. I'm kind of the opinion that if you work as a psychic medium, then you can connect with the spirit world at any time. I don't personally notice any difference in the thinning of or thickening of the veil, but I think this time of the year perhaps we do all focus on the past, on those that have passed over, so it perhaps makes it a bit easier to connect. What do you think? What do you think? Let's get some of these up. Sephora. Interesting chat with ancestor last night, but to no avail. I've spent 20 years trying to find out who he was, but still being cagey. Some of them are, aren't they? Some of them I think are being cagey just because they can be. I wonder as well whether some of them aren't actually sure themselves. Could be. Emma. Some Muppet allowed her candles to burn down in her cauldron, forgot to take the wax out before it solidified. Oh, that is going to be fun. That's going to be a bit of work for you today. Good morning, Kerry. I did have a good birthday, thank you. It's Kerry's 60th birthday this month. Don't know how I feel about that. Hey, rocking it. Died in 1937. 20s and 30s. I am quite fascinated about all the period from Victorian through till early 40s. Quite fascinated all that period. Good morning, Jane. Good morning, Monique. Think we focus more on our ancestors. Yeah, I think it is. I think the spirit world seems closer because we are all focusing on it. But, Maria, I think it's thin all year. It depends on what energy you feel. Yeah, I think it is. I think it is how you connect when you connect. I think it is perhaps because more people are thinking about those that have gone at this time of the year, that it makes it easier for them to come through, perhaps. Good morning, Maharet. Jane, the veil is no thinner at Samhain. When we do spirit board at our circle meetings, there are hordes of spirits queuing to get in, which has been my experience, yes. Believe the act of creating a portal is what makes the veil seem thin. We literally make holes in it for spirit to come through. Having had psychic mediumship training over the years and made connections, had experiences, yeah, I don't think it is any thinner. I think it just... we open it up perhaps a bit more for them this time of the year because we're all thinking about it. Xenia, I think we focus on the veil being thin, and because it's autumn, people are more indoors, not distracted. Could be. What we focus on, we notice. There's spirit connection throughout the year. Yep, I am. That's how I feel about it. Sephora, I think the timing of the dark moon along with Samhain, interesting. Yep, dark moon's a good time for connection. Diane, I have an ancestor who comes through when I need her, but I only ever know her as old lady because that's all she's ever said about herself. Yeah, they do. Some of them are quite cagey with things. Actually, let's deal with the ancestor word while we're here. When I say ancestors, do we automatically jump to relations, blood relations? I'm thinking grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, going back. I think that's probably what we think of when we use the term ancestors. I tend to view it a bit further back as well. I tend to think of ancestors as going right back. So my DNA would be back to ancient Britons, but also Germany, Holland, France as well. So when I think ancestors, I think right back to ancient man as well. When I think of ancestors, not just grandparents, great-grandparents, people that I might know the names of or seen photographs of. I think even further back when I think ancestors. And when I'm out and about, if I'm at a sacred site, if I'm at somewhere doing a ritual. I also connect with the ancestors of the land, the ancestors of that space that I'm on. So not blood relations, unless, by pure chance it happens. But if I were, in a field somewhere, when we were out on Dartmoor, we connected with the ancestors of the land, not blood relatives, just ancestors of the land. So ancestors of people in general. So ancestors for me is kind of a bit of a big umbrella term. I don't know what you guys think. Here we go. David, good question. Last few days have been more active than usual, but it's been one of those years. This time last year was family traumatic, leaving me the last to carry the family name. So family connection has been playing on my mind. This year has been absolutely rubbish for health issues with friends and family. Yeah, so I'm with you on that one, David. But yeah, I think that's it. Is it because we are all very much focusing on it specifically this time of the year? Good morning, Tina. Thank you. Jane, I believe in ancestors of place, family, and spiritual journey. I think you can't you? It is blood ancestors, but also ancestors of place as well. I think they are. It kind of covers a whole umbrella of stuff. Charlie, I think if they want to come through, they come through. Sometimes it's always not our intent, but there is that too. They came through when I didn't know I needed them, just before bad news. Yeah, they will contact us if they feel the need as well. Emma, Bessie was barking and staring at spirits as the family came home. Didn't welcome their mean ones, all because she didn't recognise them. Drove her batty, so I had to request they come with care. Yeah, dogs, cats, they all pick up, young children, they all pick up on the spirits, don't they? Maria, if there's a collective energy, there will be more activity. Depends on what you want to manifest. Yeah, that's true too. Xenia, when we go back in time, back to the first humans or first beings before humans, we can see ourselves all related. Well, yeah, if you go back far enough, with the family tree is all going to go back, isn't it? Jane, we have three kinds of ancestry. Blood ancestors, the ancestors of the plot we live on our past lives, our soul ancestors, very well reminded. Yes, the third one I hadn't thought of, but yes, soul ancestors as well. Yeah, ancestors is quite a big umbrella term, isn't it? Monique, had a DNA test on her Viking and Celtic ancestors. It's interesting. We have talked about the DNA test before, and it is fascinating. Xenia, when we want the veil to be thin, it is. Make it so. Charlie, but also we can call on them our intent to do a ritual, but I feel they have a choice. It's not a passive relationship on their side. They can say no. Absolutely. And I think it's important to remember when you are dealing with ancestors and the spirit world that you're in control as well, particularly with spirits, and we'll come to them in a minute. Different to ancestors. Spirits, remember you're in control. If you feel uncomfortable, you can tell them to bugger off. It is about remembering that you control it all. Tina, I have always wondered who all ancestors are, as in my relatives, and which ancestors. Which ancestors is a difficult one, because thinking back even to probably my great-grandparents, they would have all worked a bit of folk magic. There would have been remedies, there would have been superstitions. That's all folk magic, which probably wasn't a term that people would have called themselves. They might have been cunning folk, they might have been herbalists, healers. It's a difficult one to trace, I think. But probably most of us, when you go back to great-grandparent era, people would have worked with folk magic in some form or other. Diane, still really nervous about contacting the spirit world, and that is very advisable in case someone comes through with malicious intent and I can't send them back. I think if you are venturing into working with the spirit world, get some training, get some advice, get some teaching. You need to know how to deal with it. You absolutely are in control, but if you are going to work with the spirit world, it does pay to have some proper training to know how to deal with it all. Even in my actual training, initial training, I had some scary moments. So it pays to have someone there that knows what they're doing. But you are ultimately in control of it all. Emily, I honour all ancestors, ancient and modern, at this time of the year, as well as my beloved dead who aren't related to me by blood. That's an interesting one too, isn't it? When we use the term ancestors, it doesn't necessarily have to be blood relations. Some people don't know their family history. So it is all ancestors, I guess. David, I also count non-blood ancestors. Yes, have a small doll made from twine and sticks, and it represents all those that have had a large impact on my life and path going all the way back. Exactly. It doesn't have to be blood relatives. Lots of people will have an influence on our life that aren't necessarily related to us by blood. Xenia, also people who we learned from, like from books, can be ancestors. Mentors. Yeah, absolutely. Maria, I don't bother with ancestors as such, as they have already made their minds up about me, like family. I don't really know, so I just focus on the one who accepts me as I am. Has to be personal choice. Absolutely has to be personal choice. Jane, my various grandparents and great-grandparents must have been open to spirit because they all had tales to tell of how their homes were haunted. Need to journal about these so they don't get forgotten. I think that's important too. My paternal grandmother was a spiritualist. I had no idea until she passed. I didn't know at the time. That would have been fascinating to talk to her about it. Emma, for me, ancestors are not just blood, it's area, beliefs and history. Yep, agree. Charlie, with ancestors, I always think healing, release work. I forget we have gifts from our ancestors. I always forget we have gifts and feel I've been prompted and reminded that the past year and a half. Sometimes we need a bit of tap on the head to remember that we can do these things. Yeah, absolutely. So ancestors covers a huge umbrella of stuff. Actual relatives, but going further back, much further back, peoples that you feel connected to, but also ancestors of the land that you're on as well. Spirit world, I think the word spirit gets a bit confusing sometimes. When I talk spirit world, I'm talking psychic mediumship. Mediumship. I'm talking to those that have passed over. For want of a better term, ghosts, but I don't like using that term because it has so many other connotations to it. It's connecting with spirit, those that have passed over. They might be related to you, they might not. It's a bit of an open field. As Jane said earlier, they queue up, basically. My very, very first experience of mediumship when I was being taught by a very nice chap, literally, I opened up and it was bombarded with, it was like being a rave with all of these spirits come through. So it does help to have a bit of training because I was then taught how to deal with it and pretty much to get everyone to line up in a nice orderly queue because it can be really overwhelming. But that is spirits of those that have passed over to the other side. But then you also have spirit of place. So spirit of place would be, my house has a spirit, my garden has a spirit, any place that I visit has a spirit of place, different to connecting with spirits from the other world, beyond the veil, if you like. Again, lots of a big umbrella term, I think, for lots of different things. But I don't know, what do you guys think? Let's miss some of these. David, largely Cornish on my mother's side, so I'm bound to be witches down the line and pirates. Oh, yeah, I'd go with pirates. I would go with pirates, definitely. Sephora, I'm good with intuition and was once okay with getting help along the way, but now all I can do is genealogy. I think, it's our pathways are all different. Whilst I have done a lot of mediumship training, I don't tend to use it these days. I work more with magic and intent and intuition. I work more with plant spirits and animal spirits than I do with the spirit world, human spirit world, if you like, because that's not really where my path has led me. So it has to work for you. Spirits do come through on occasion. The house, we have quite a few spirits here in the house, so I do make connections. But I've done platform work, which is very bizarre, to actually stand there and give messages to people. Not very comfortable with that, I must admit. That wasn't my pathway, but it's interesting to work with. And of course I do hedge ride as well, so I am always stepping into the other world over the hedge. But I tend to connect with plant spirits and animal spirits, sometimes deity, when I am in the other world rather than the human spirits. It has to be comfortable for you. It has to be something that you're comfortable doing. Xenia, don't work with unhealed ancestors, especially close ones. Otherwise, they would try and act out their unhealthy patterns on me. Come from a shamanic worldview, and I would never go with a spirit ally and never call the hungry ghosts. That's a good term, isn't it? I think this is where it's important to have some guidance and some training. Jane, our soul ancestry is so important. Everything we learn in each life gets carried forward to our next incarnation and built until we reach our full potential. Hopefully, as a light being, I need a lot more lives. I think this is down to belief. Not everyone will believe that, obviously. We all have different views of the other world, which actually is an interesting question. What are your beliefs of the other world? I do think I carry past lives with me. I have done quite a lot of past life work. Interesting. I think when you get those weird experiences, we went to Wookie Hole many years back now, went down under the rocks and into the literally caves with huge amounts of rock above you. I hated it. Could not wait to get out of there. And that was a reflection from one of my past lives when we traced it from being buried. Not fun. So I think we do carry those things forward with us. But everyone's going to have a slightly different view about the other world, about once you've stepped over to the other side. So it has to be quite a personal belief as well, I think. I'm fairly sure I've got a lot more learning to do. Emma, for me, also Samhain is a reconnection to my path, as I first decided it was a path for me on Samhain, not sure why. Good as time as any, but connection to what is important to me. It is a nice time. It is because it is the ending of the summer, so it's an end of a period and then moving on to a new one. So that makes sense. Yep, that makes sense. Charlie, I feel they're pushing me, my ancestors, to recognise and remember my gifts, strengths from ancestors. My nan was adopted, person I was closest to, and feel that lost line wants my attention. Sometimes they will shout. Sometimes they will jump up and down to get your attention. Good morning, Jackie. Sephora. Cornish ancestors from Gwynedd were miners and miners' wives, but they like gold. Maybe it's a bit of pirate stuff there somewhere, or gnomes, or dwarves. Could be. Jane, currently working with a combination of ancestry, DNA, and spirit board. Cousin I've never heard of came through on the board last week, and I asked him the surname of my mystery granddad. I've gone back to my ancestry results and found someone with that surname. Cool. Now working up the courage to contact him. We did a little bit of investigating, actually, a couple of years back now. My watch up. We had this tattoo from the lovely Susie Inkwich, crossed broomsticks, and it is a symbol to remember those that were had their lives taken in the witch trials. Let's bear in mind, though, that for the most part, the witch trials, the people weren't actually witches. It was a hunt of ridiculous, stupid ideas and beliefs. But most of them weren't actually witches. Some of them were cunning folk. A lot of them didn't practice any magic at all. They just happened to have red hair or freckles or a birthmark, or someone wanted their lands. So bear in mind that when we say witch trials, quite a big proportion of them weren't actually of the occult. However, when we had the little crossed broomsticks done, it was to connect and remember one of the people that were taken in the witch trials. And after we'd done it, we had a look and researched into the names. And I found on the list a lady that was put to death in Norfolk. Apparently, she cursed a man to death. He died. She was blamed for cursing him to death. Anyway, she had my grandmother's name. She had a family surname. And she was from my family home in Norfolk, which is where a lot of my paternal ancestors come from. So she was the one that I took with me to be my crossed broomstick lady to remember from the witch trials. But it was interesting that I found someone not only in my family home place, but also with a family name as well, the same name as my grandmother. Yeah, bit of random history for you. But I think it's important that we make these connections. I think it's important that we remember those that have gone before us anyway, particularly, I think, with things like the wars, First and Second World War. A lot of our ancestors fought for their country, and that's any of the countries, all fighting for your own freedom. And I think that's important to remember as well, because our lives would not be what they are now if they hadn't done. So I think it's important to remember your ancestors anyway, and to write things down, because we do lose names. The further you go back, sometimes it's difficult to find and remember the names. It's all important, I think. Good morning. Charlie, could you do a plant spirit talk on how to work with an animal spirit talk? If you haven't done so many talks, you probably have. I probably have somewhere along the line. I'm sure I've done an animal one. I'm actually writing a book. I've got a pagan portals on animal magic. I'm actually writing a much bigger, more comprehensive book on animal magic as well. That will come out at some point. Who knows? Because I love working with animal spirit world. It is one of the things that I really love working with, and plant spirits as well, because herbs, love working with the magic of herbs. But yeah, we can add that to the list. Do have a look. I think there was been lots of various herb talks, and there was an animal spirit one as well. Be on YouTube, have a look. But yes, we can certainly revisit those subjects. Tina, I believe my past lives sometimes guide me. For example, deja vu. Yes, we have those experiences, don't we? Those, oh, I've been here before, or this place seems familiar, even if you don't think you've been there. Yeah, it does. It happens, doesn't it? Monique, my Celtic side is Irish Romany. On one side, Jewish European, on the other side, so right mixed. Do you know, I think we've talked about this before. I think we're all a bit pick and mix, aren't we? Particularly if you are, if your family line is in England in particular. We are a big old melting pot of stuff. Celtic is a tricky word as well, because Celtic covers all sorts of different peoples. It is a collective term for Irish, Welsh, Scottish, European, all sorts of mixtures of people. But yeah, we are all a bit pick and mix, aren't we? Myself included. Maria, has anyone attempted the spirit board blindfolded? Why would be my question. Jane might be able to answer that one. No, I've never done it. I've worked with the spirit board on several occasions, but never blindfolded. Jane might be able to answer that one for you, Miriam. Maria, it was a hunt from gossipers, including animals, children included. Witch hunts, it was very strange. Jackie, strange time at the moment as Mum is hovering between the two worlds as we speak. Very timely in many ways this time of the year, and feels like she's slipping away more to the other side soul-wise. Yeah, been there. Not easy to deal with. Heart goes out to you guys. Yeah, not easy to deal with. Good morning, Leslie. Emma, my great uncle died in one of the wars. I guess it depends on ages of people. My grandfather was on the D-Day landings. But it's important to remember, I think, on all sides, what happened. I absolutely don't think we should erase history. I think we should learn from it. And you can't learn from it if you erase it. That's my thought for today. Which hunts were to do with money? Well, yes, money and land as well, I would imagine. Marilyn, love those broomsticks. Yes, my crossed broomsticks. Oop. Live in Mr. Lee Manningtree, where we finally have a plaque honouring and remembering those women who were persecuted by Matthew Hopkins, who lived in the area. Brilliant play called The Ungodly has just moved from Ipswich to London, which is well worth the trip. Cool. I think it is one of those things. The witch trials they weren't as huge as some of the numbers were made out, but they were a horrible part of history, and I think that's important to remember as well. But I think it's also important to remember that the whole witch thing, probably the numbers were few and far between, because people probably didn't even call themselves witches then. It would have been cunning folk and the healer. So I think and witch was used as an insult then as well. Fascinating to learn about though. Xenia, mostly about with animal spirits too. Yeah, it's one of my favourite things. I've got lots of favourite things. Witch trials must have resulted in a shortage of midwives and healers. Yeah, I would imagine so. People treated them badly and ended up with a shortage of treatment for themselves. Shades of the current state of NHS. Will we ever learn? I think the NHS is on its knees, but we would not be without it. Fingers crossed it continues. Zephora. Studied my family history. There's definitely generational trauma that gets carried through generations. I think it's the past life stuff does carry forward. But again, depends on your beliefs. Each to their own. Emily, my recent ancestry is almost all British Irish. Now, this is my pet thing. British covers Irish, British covers Welsh, Scottish, English. So it's a bit of a collective. I prefer to separate it out because I'm very proud to be English. Scottish people are very proud to be Scottish. Irish people proud to be Irish. Welsh people proud to be Welsh. So I think separating it out is quite important. Slither of Scandinavian. I have a slither of Scandinavian too. Recently did a DNA test that compares you with the archaeological digs. Yes, that's quite fascinating, isn't it? We did it with my son's DNA test, and they can trace back, and he was very impressed to find out he was related to Eric the Red. Yes, it is interesting. Very interesting to do for sure. Always felt close to the British and Irish side. Separate it. Separate it out. And again, Celtic covers all sorts. Anglo-Saxon ancient ancestry is there. Opens a new viewpoint. It does. I think it's really, really interesting to do. Here we are. Answer. I knew Jane would know. This is working with the spirit board blindfolded. Wouldn't work because it depends on reading the letters. Yeah, that was my thought. On the flip side, though, my first encounter was with my real grandpa, who couldn't read or write. Yes, We've had that with Spirit Board. He spelled out a lot of gobbledygook, but one significant word, dodo, my Nana Dorothy's nickname. I think he would have made an effort to learn that. Yep, makes sense. Once we established he was literate, we asked him yes, no questions and started getting somewhere. Yes. Blindfolds might work if a scribe could watch like a hawk and write everything down. Interesting. I have worked with Spirit Board. We went to a shop that was having problems with Spirit, and we tried a Spirit Board first, and we couldn't get any sense. So chucked the Spirit Board and connected direct. And it was a little girl who couldn't read or write, so it was no wonder she couldn't work the Spirit Board. Blindfold, yeah, you really need to be able to see the words, don't you? Yeah, interesting. Blindfolded might work if you're doing automatic writing, something like that. Might be interesting to do. Thank you, Jane. Little Miss Nemo. There were those persecuted merely because of the superstition that existed between the Protestant and Catholic factions. Oh, it was political. It was religious, wasn't it? Political and religious. Thoroughly pointless. Yeah, absolutely. Was ridiculous. Xenia. It's mostly random people who are prosecuted as witches, as Maria pointed out, for money or because of gossip. Yep. Cunning folk mostly found out the witches. Cunning folk would be blamed as witches if their magic doesn't work, but mostly people needed their cunning folk because they would go to the cunning folk for healing and curses, just in case you wanted one. Yeah, it's interesting. It is. I think it's very interesting to trace your ancestry. It does give you a different perspective on stuff, and it is quite surprising. So my son had his done first, and his was literally 75% English, 25% Scandinavian. So I assumed mine would be similar, but it wasn't. I was about 45% English, small percentage Scandinavian, and the rest was mainly Germany. Bit of Holland, bit of France. So I was really surprised, but it does give you another viewpoint. It gives you a kind of starting point, I think. A bit of direction, maybe. Yeah, interesting to be done. Good morning, Lani. Sephora. As a New Zealander, I can lay claim to Irish, English, Scottish, and Shetland Island ancestry. Where does one obtain a spirit board? It is a Ouija board. No need to apologise, Sephora, not at all. We call it a spirit board because that's what it is. Ouija board is a brand name. I think it was owned by Waddington's or one of the big game companies. So Ouija board is actually a brand name. It is a spirit board. You can probably get them on any of the, like Amazon places. But I would imagine Etsy and handcrafted people make them as well. The one we had was made by a druid friend. So, it is a Ouija board. Leslie. I'm highest percentage Irish, then Scottish, Welsh, English, small percentage Italian, sliver of Scandinavian and Finnish. Quite a lot in there. I think most of us, that if you're in the UK, you're going to have a bit of pick and mix, I think. Charlie, that's the one I used as well, the one that Emily has suggested. Emma. Very confused about what I believe right now, hence I need to reconnect to my beliefs this year. Very much struggling right now in regards to my path. One thing is constant, my heritage and family. Do you know, we all have those periods where we fall off the wheel, we fall off the Ouija board, we fall out of the cauldron, all sorts of other metaphors. It does happen to us all. It really does. I'm 30 plus years now. And I've had my ups and downs. I've had the moments where nothing's made sense. My pathway has never gone straight. It's been like that the whole time. And I've delved into different things, and I've delved into nothing, and I've stepped back, and it happens. It absolutely happens. But if you want to chat about it, Emma, do message me, and I'll see if I can do anything to help. But don't worry. It happens to us all. It really does. Um, Jane, my latest spirit guide, Harry, was only 6 when he passed, though he's grown up in spirit. When he came through on the board, his sister Annie did the spelling for him. Oh, bless. I inherited Annie's soul from 200 years ago. Both he and Annie were drowned in the same way, by being tied up in a bag and chucked in a pond. Delightful. He spelled out man and bag on the board without us saying anything. It's amazing what we can find out at a board meeting. I think it always is fascinating. Why is it called Ouija? Do you know? I have no idea. It is a brand name. The thing that jumps out at me is we is yes in French and ja is yes in German. So to me, that's yes, yes. But it might be that it's yes, no, because that's on a spirit board. I don't know. If anyone knows, that'd be interesting to find out. Xenia, has a Ouija board been a children's toy, or is that not true? Sometimes read or hear the running joke for children from 3 years. There was a meme going around social media about a kid's Ouija board. I don't know whether it's true or not, but Ouija is a brand name for a spirit board. So at some point, one of the game companies did bring one out. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yes, yes, in French and German. Just sounded good. Yeah, who knows? Sephora. We are incredibly lucky as our land our home sits on has an incredible feeling of calm and protection, and I reward it with trees. I think you've heard me say before, connecting with the spirit of land is really, really important. Now, Sephora's in New Zealand, so you must have some really historic land and some really ancient land spirits there. I'm assuming Maori. Fascinating belief system. Eric's barking at something, bless him. Yeah, it is really important to connect with the spirits of the land you live on, absolutely. David, we all do. We all fall on and off at time to time. That's why I love it being referred to as the crooked path. Yeah, took 20 years off the path. It happens. It really does happen. And often when life things happen, Eric is barking his head off. Leslie, I feel my connection gets lost. That bothers me. Right now, I can't seem to connect with my tarot. Nothing that comes out makes sense to me. It's like it's someone else's reading. I'm actually a bit rubbish at reading for myself because I see the things I want to see and not necessarily what's really there. But I also think you do. It might be that you need to step back from it for a bit. It might be that it's leading you to push you in another direction, a different form of divination, a different pathway. Be open to whatever comes your way, I would say. Little Miss Nemo, life does get in the way of observances, but I do try to keep Samhain with the nearest Sunday lunch being our feast. Yule is the other one we do keep to balance out the Christmas goings. Do you know my favourite Sabbath is Yule. I love that build-up of energy. That the few weeks beforehand, it's starting now. I've already started watching the Hallmark cheesy Christmas films. Don't judge. I've had panettone and mince pies already. I love the build-up of energy because for me it's about connection, and it is that buzz of excitement building up. Once the actual Christmas thing is done, by Boxing Day I want to take all the decorations down and finish it all and tuck it all away because it's that build-up of energy that I love. I don't connect or celebrate with all of the Sabbats. I take each one as it comes, and if I feel the connection is there, then I'll go with it. If I don't, then I don't. Don't actually connect with Samhain very often in more recent years. Not since the kids kind of grew out of trick-or-treating and not wanting to decorate. It has to work for you. It has to work for you. It has to work with the seasons. I think the seasons are more important to connect with than dates on calendars. Connection to the land that you're on. Connection to the seasons, the weather around you. Absolutely. Oh, Eric is very noisy. Yes. Sephora, I'll make my own spirit board. I think it will give it more connection and another art project. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Monique. Oh, has an Anne Stokes spirit board. Very nice. Didn't know she did those. Very nice. Susan. I've had to stop doubting as I always get the answer I want. Yeah. And you'll keep getting the answer until you listen to it. Little Miss Nemo. Daughter and I started listening to the choral scholars from King's doing Christmas songs a few weeks ago. I love it all. I love all of it. Carols, and a lot of the carols, pagan roots anyway. The whole thing of it. When I first started on the witchcraft pathway, I spent ages trying to find Christmas cards that didn't say Christmas, decorations that weren't Christmassy, and it was exhausting, absolutely exhausting. As I got further into my path, I realised that it's all one big jumble of celebrations, and it's more important about the actual energy and family and friends and the happiness and the getting together, that whole buzzy energy, far more important than worrying about names and labels. So yeah, I embrace it all. Xenia. In Catholicism, Christmas time apparently lasts up to the 2nd of February. See, no, I'm done. By Boxing Day, I'm done. Oh, no, I'm lucky that Pete likes Christmas too. Jane. Poundland was selling them a few years ago. Oh, what spirit boards as a Halloween gimmick. The dog is going mental. They were soon withdrawn from sale. Now people are selling them at a huge profit. Found some at a festival recently, but wouldn't buy one because they're folded up. A smooth skating rink surface is essential for the planchette to work properly. Yeah, that makes sense. It needs to glide, doesn't it? Best boards are those with clear black letters that are easy to distinguish, not fancy script. A lot of spirits find it hard to read. Yeah, especially if they weren't very literate in life. Yeah, simple. Keep it simple. Lani, I find I am more connected with seasons, the changes outside. As soon as I feel the change in the weather, yep, that's when the connection takes place. Spring and autumn are my favourites. It's one of the things I love about living in England is that we have those seasons. We have those changing of seasons, and I love it. And I have to say autumn. Autumn and winter are my favourite seasons. But yeah, spring and autumn are those kind of liminal ones, aren't they? 2nd of Feb, not sure I could handle listening to Cliff Richard for that long. I like to tease Ness. Ness hates Michael Bublé, so I do like to tease her quite a lot. Actually, it's probably about the right time. Ness, buckle up. Michael Bublé's on his way. Jane. Carols from King's, brilliant. John Rutter and David Wilcox have nailed Christmas music between them. Do you know what? I like it all. Riff Pilchard. The man's a legend. You can't do that to him. I do. I love it all. I love the whole cheesy pop songs, Christmas songs. I love the carols. I love gospel Christmas songs. Fabulous. Yeah. And all the cheesy stuff. Zephora. Just discovered birth tarot cards. Well, wasn't that telling? For the whole family, it was fascinating. Tarot is my thing, so. Emma, thank you. Never felt so lost. Really felt it last night. So much so my anxiety was high and I was in tears, still feeling the same way. Message me, Emma. We'll have a chat about it. But you are not on your own, my lovely. You really aren't. We all go through it. We all go through it. It's about making that decision then, whether you need to just chill. And that's usually it. Just go with it. Just enjoy that silence almost. And then gradually, slowly, the thing that usually brings me back when I've lost my connection, things that usually brings me back is to clear my altar. Literally clear it and leave it empty for a day or two. And then gradually things start coming back. But my altar seems to be the focal point for me to bring me back to it. Mariah Carey, yeah. She's being defrosted as we speak. Good morning, Rachel. Totally agree with your Christmas thoughts. Also felt I needed to find things that didn't say Christmas, but yeah, it's not about the label. It's not. But I think perhaps do we all have to go through that? Does that come with experience? Possibly, possibly. Jane, that's interesting. Stopped celebrating Christmas when Imbok came along. See a lot. Morning, Ness. Watch out, Michael Bublé's on his way. Thought I might have got away with that. Xenia, tried to get German Christmas stuff. We don't have Christ in Christmas. It's being called Weihnachten, which means blessed or holy nights. I like that. Do like that. I apologise for my pronunciation. Yeah. I'm getting used to the new software. Back to Xenia's comment. Christmas ending with Imbolc makes sense. When you run out of candles, you have to bless a new lot. Yeah, it could be, couldn't it? Could be. Xenia, or Danish Christmas stuff because it's Yule in Danish. Yes. I have my Yule goat. Love the Yule goat. Love him. Charlie, feel you, Emma. Ellen, Sanunos, but also Ganesha, angels and fairies. I'm feeling so confused. It does fit under the term pagan. It has me in tears too, very confused. It does. It happens. It really does. I think it's about just breathe, take a breath. You don't have to be full on working with it the whole time. It is perfectly acceptable to take a breath every so often and regroup. Absolutely. Sephora, can be tough. This sun activity isn't helping with anxiety, and spirit is low in our house as well. Just going to calm places and back to reading witchy non-fiction books to relax. That is a very nice idea. Very nice idea. Poor Michael Bublé. Little Miss Nemo. Christmas lasts until Epiphany, 6th of January. 2nd of February is Candlemas, and the celebration is when the baby Jesus was presented to the temple. Don't know how that's still Christmas. I have no idea. I have no idea. Candlemas ended the Christmas season. I mean, I all up for celebrating all of these things for lot. Maybe it's the same as our Sabbats. The Wheel of the Year, albeit a more modern invention, sets out 8 Sabbats. They aren't just those dates. So Samhain wasn't just last night. Samhain would have been 2 or 3 weeks beforehand, and it's now 2 or 3 weeks after until the Yule energy kicks in. It's not one fixed date on a calendar. It is a series of weeks. It is a period in time, and one Sabbath flows into the next. So maybe it works like that. That's how I see it anyway. Just, my 2 penneth, which is a very strange saying. Lani, when I have struggles with my path, I have some time outside. Yeah, nature. Tis the cure, isn't it? Sitting or standing. Sometimes I just go through my crystals. Yes, Lani is a crystal guru. Many, many crystals. Xenia, I have a bunch of Yule goats. Oh, I do. I love them. Love Yule goats. Diane, which is who you are, not what you do. Absolutely, absolutely. Jane, Heilige Nacht. I don't think we have to replace Christ with X. Jesus was a perfectly valid teacher, but one of many. He's celebrated along with countless other teachers. Yeah, I believe he was. Yeah, absolutely. Suspect he might have been a druid, but there you go. David, we're planning our Yuletime costumes at the moment. We like to wander around town walking the dogs all dressed up as something Yuletide themed. I need to move next door to you, David, I think. Don't decide if we're going with reindeer or my choice of Krampus. Oh, yeah, it is going to be reindeer. You know it's going to be reindeer, but Krampus would be cool. Yeah. Yeah, I do think Jesus was a teacher. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Angela, the French leave their Christmas tree up until Candlemas. Oh, there you go. So we've embraced the tradition for our Yule. Nice. Lani, I'm okay with Christmas Day and Boxing Day, but I find that's me done. Yeah. Then use January to have a clean cleanse, think about what to do for the rest of the year. Yeah, January for me is hibernation. Oh yeah, Mud's lonely this Christmas. Last Christmas good. Wham. Yeah. They are quite yeah, they are, but there you go. So Zephora's flipped. So although it's Beltane here, the Samhain energy just rolls down the hill. So I guess it's collective. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. I'm going to have to go and see what the dog's barking at. So yeah, enjoy the energy of now, really. Connect with it and see where it takes you. Emma, my lovely, messaged me. We can always have a chat. No problem. Little Miss Nemo is now singing Christmas songs at the top of her lungs. I am going to go and have to sort the dog out. So, all the events, do check the websites. My website, the Kitchen Witch website. We have got a 2-hour free Moon Magic workshop going in December. There's also the new Moonbooks blog. Do have a look. Pagan Collective, WordPress. Very, very good. Lots and lots of information on there. Book reviews, blogs from authors about various things. Very, very impressive stuff. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. It's all happening. Yeah, the hour did go quickly, didn't it? Yes, it always does. But thank you, everyone. Enjoy the energy of the season and your sweeties that you collected from from yesterday. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys all next week.